Now, going back to some financial foundational stuff, since that's what we're really covering today, obviously wealth is a team sport.
Yes.
And it requires a lot of pieces and a lot of people and a lot of really intelligent people.
Yes.
So, my plan personally is to put my money into a lot of vehicles. Let's say cash flow real estate or apartment complexes like you did. But I'm not going to go out and spend the next 3 years learning real estate and how to buy apartment complexes. I'm going to find the best in the business at that, and that's all they do for a living, and bring them onto my team and work with them, and they handle that with my money, right? So who are the team members of your team when it comes to building your wealth strategy?
Okay. If you don't mind, I love to write.
Yeah, no. Let's make a nice little list here.
But I will tell you a list of the must-haves and then some others. Number one, and in no particular order, by the way, you need to have a good, and again, I'm thinking entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Okay. Business attorney. You need an estate attorney. They're different.
Now, business attorney, I don't see business attorney in the phone book, or is that a specific name? You say I need a business attorney, or is it
someone who focuses on particularly closely held businesses and
entity, and maybe someone specializes in entity creation and structuring?
Not only, but
Okay.
typically this type of attorney also understands trademarks. They understand patents.
Okay.
Any type of information product to make sure that you're protected.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Copyright.
Copyrights, et cetera, all of the above. They tend to be specialists in that arena. Now, once you start operating at a higher level, then you want to get one who does nothing but copyrights. I mean, it's almost, if I were to use sort of like an analogy, it's like no different than, hey, listen, if you need heart surgery, you're not going to go to your general physician. You're going to go to the heart specialist.
Yeah, we use, our firm here in Austin has specialties within it: tax specialist, copyright specialist. So they're all under that one roof, which is nice. So.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of firms that are very effective, and then there's a lot of them that create the facade that they're very effective.
Okay.
And again, I'm sure you've screened them, and I'm sure they're fine. But again, I'm just kind of throwing that out there. But let's go back to the money, because it was what you're asking. Believe it or not, I think one of the things you need is a really good mortgage professional, and I refer to them as a mortgage planner, not a loan application taker. And I'm talking about someone who understands both sides of the balance sheet.
How do you know if your mortgage planner is there to truly serve your interests, or is there to just sell you a loan? No matter, just to get you qualified. Because I know when I bought my first house, it was in 2006, 2007, when they were handing out $1 million loans to anybody. I was one of those, 29 years old, $1 million loan, here you go. And sold the house, but I, was very uneducated at that time and would really just took whatever they gave me. And I have a very distinct feeling that no advice from him, hey, got you the loan, here you go, sign. And it was an adjustable and all that, the worst kind of loan you could possibly get. Fortunately, it didn't impact me. I sold the house before any of that happened. But how do you know if the mortgage planner really has your best interest at heart? Hey, here's some real advice, or he's just there to sell the loan?
I'll tell you what, that's a real good question. You're probably not going to like my answer.
Sure.
But my answer, number one, your gut will tell you. For the people who may not have an instinct about people, if the person is not asking you a ton of questions, and I'm not talking about, let me see your tax returns, let me see this, and let me see that, but if he's, for someone who's really trying to understand what your financial picture is like, and he starts analyzing your cash flow and starts talking to you about cash flow and starts offering advice, that's a mortgage planner. All right? And the type of individual who's really more concerned with just hawking rates, just saying, hey, listen, this is a great rate that I'm giving you. He's a used car salesman.
Right.
Because that's what they're selling. Because I think I showed you in an illustration, which unfortunately we can't do here without the actual illustration. A lower interest rate does not necessarily mean that it's a lower cost loan. In fact, I can show you an example where a higher interest rate actually costs you less money. Literally less money out of pocket. And people say, how do you figure that? Well, and again, you really need to take it step by step. Perhaps we'll save that for a webinar,
Okay.
cool. To show that to people. But a mortgage planner is going to be very sensitive to both, and he's going to understand the power of leverage and understand compounding interest versus simple interest.
Okay.
And the ones that are real good will also be able to give you a quick report. And having owned a mortgage company, that was one of the other businesses that I used to own. I can tell you in fact there's a company that was started by a gentleman by the name of Dave Savage that uses something that's called Mortgage Coach, and it's a software package that does a quick analytical evaluation of someone's loan and what they're trying to accomplish.
Cool.
With future investments. So mortgage planner is one. You need there's another tough one. You need a good realtor.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying it's tough is because in the real estate community, and this happened in the mortgage industry during the boom, but in the real estate industry, I'm going to piss off realtors, I'm sorry. You have a lot of folks who have trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up, reached a midlife crisis as far as career-wise, and then they're trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do? What am I qualified for? Real estate. Yeah, I'll go into real estate.
Sure.
And unfortunately, the ones that are really good don't have a lot of time. So who trains them? Joe, who's been in the business for 40 years, who's a sourpuss, who's sitting in the corner. He says, hey, kid, let me tell you how it's done. And you need a professional realtor, and you're going to need two of them. Why? Because if you're going to invest in residential, and I know what you're going to ask me next, and I'll address it, and also in commercial. And this is, and I'm going to say this for the sake of the audience, because when you decide you're going to invest in real estate, let's touch base on what you were talking about. You need to make a very fundamental decision. All right? First of all, and you need to decide, is it a buy and hold proposition, or is it going to be a buy and flip? All right? Because that will skew what type of properties you're going to be looking at. That's number one. Number two is, do you want to roll up your sleeves and tinker with it? All right? Some people really dig it. They bought their first property, and I'm going to tell you, it's almost cute. You can tell someone who is a brand new investor because they get this property, they fix it up, they do all these great things to the property. They dump a lot of money into it, and I'm just sitting there going, rookie. I did that too. A year later, it was all trashed.
Sure.
So, and then there's other folks, and this is what the category that you fall into, from what you had said. I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to deal with leaky toilets.
Yeah.
I just, and I don't want to have to learn about it, to go out there and start learning, cash flow and all that kind of thing. So then you can go out and hire pros.
Right.
All right. And this is a growing business right now, and it's very vibrant, and there's tremendous opportunities. The reason I say this is because now you can do fractional ownership.
Right.
Which means you can get in for $50,000, $100,000. Now, some people, again, we're assuming that a lot of folks listening to this have the money, but let's say if you didn't. Do you have an IRA? You can do something that's called a self-directed IRA, which you can take a portion of it and direct it into that fund. That's part of your IRA portfolio now. You have real estate in there.
And I'll say this because I think this is really important. This is my motto personally, and it's a theme that I'll mention many times, and we'll have. I'm fortunate enough to already be friends with some amazing realtors here in the Austin area that really pursue it as almost a family legacy business. I mean, they do hundreds of transactions a year.
Well, these guys are pros.
Total pros, and friends that have done billions in commercial real estate as well. People that I would trust with my life, really. So
good.
We'll have them on in future episodes. But the education side for me, it will be to learn from them. But the extent of the learning, the education will be to give me the ability to take responsibility for the decisions I'll be making.
Yeah.
So I want to know just enough to be able to take responsibility for those decisions, so that if it tanks or I lose money or whatever, the only person I have to blame is me, and that's always the case. But like I said, I'm not going to go learn real estate for 3 years, but I'm going to go learn enough to take responsibility for the decisions I make and know enough to say, hey, this is a good deal, or if it's not a good deal, good decision, not a good decision. So
from your lips to God's ears.
Yeah.
Because that has been one of my biggest missions for the last 7, 8 years. And in fact, there's an organization called the Jumpstart Coalition, which is a national organization, and they're trying to reach the kids from junior high to high school, because one of the things that we are financially illiterate in this country.
Completely. So
it is very important for people to take ownership, and this is why when you and I were talking, why we hit it off as well as we did, is because immediately you were so eager to wanting to absorb all this, and you were very inquisitive. Whereas a lot of the folks that I sit down with, I tell them, look, we need to establish something up front. You know, one of the things that the way I do business is I'm going to teach you certain things, and I'm also going to give you homework. And I've had some people kind of cringe with the whole idea of homework. I thought I left that behind, and I said, that's the way I do things. Because if I'm going to talk to you up here, I don't have to Barney things down and talk to you like you're a dunce.
Well, you already know that person's not going to, they don't want the responsibility, so they're going to be middle class or poor. That's the bottom line.
Believe it or not, I've talked to some affluent people who don't want to learn either.
Yeah.
And they want to be shot callers. And I'll be honest with you, those are probably the biggest nightmare folks to work with. They have a lot of money, and again, I'm not taking a slam at anyone, but they have a lot of money, and then they start pounding their chest like a gorilla, and they have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, my accountant, Joe, told me this, and I said, well, I talked to Joe. Joe's an idiot. Sorry. Let me go talk to Joe and try and straighten him out. And then Joe, because he's in with the high-powered guys, thinking, oh, you know, I've already got his allegiance.
Right.
So, you know, there's got to be a little give and take. So, anyway,
back. Realtor, residential, commercial.
Yeah, so you need a realtor. Believe it or not, there is going to be a place for an asset manager, which in most cases should be you, but again, this is to delegate.
Okay.
The important thing, as you pointed out, is you want to be able to know enough where you know what they're doing.
Okay.
Because ultimately, it does fall on you.
Okay. What does an asset manager do?
This could be someone, if you do choose to get into stocks.
Okay.
There's some people that still, you know, are seduced by it. That could be into commodities. It can be into a whole myriad of different things.
Okay.
All right. You can also get someone who might be just a portfolio manager, kind of oversees everything.
Okay.
So let's just.
And when I say I don't want to get into stocks, I'll put it this way: if I do get into stocks, it will be with one of the best stock performers in the world, and that's a part of putting the team together. I'm not going to be actively trading.
Right.
But that'll be a part of the team. So.
And part of an asset manager is you got a stock jockey in there at one point. But I will tell you, I have a friend in Orange County, California, who deals with a lot of celebrity types, and et cetera. And this guy is probably one of the most intelligent people I ever know. He's one of these seminar and class junkies. He called me up all fired up. He just got back from a tax class. Imagine getting excited about that. I'd rather have root canal. And he was telling me, Paul, he goes, do you realize that if you would have taken $100 and invested it in small cap funds, right now I think that account would be worth about $5,000? And I'm thinking, oh God, he's not going there. And he said, do you realize what the net return is on that? And I said, Gus, I don't have my calculator with me. He said, would you believe it's less than single digits? Or excuse me, it's like single digit? And I said, well, is that new math? He said, no, once you figure out the tax consequence, and if you're going to leave it in there for a long term, et cetera.
Inflation.
And you start factoring all this other stuff, he goes, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
He said, he said, that blew my mind. He says, I double checked and triple checked the numbers. So a lot of these people, what they don't realize is that they go out and get this monster return. On, let's say you take $50,000, so did some guy at Morgan Stanley, said, let's see what you can do, kid. He just turned it into $150,000. He says, Mr. Dillard, didn't I do well? You're going to say, hey, you did great. Now you got to pay taxes on that money. Where's it going to come from? It comes out of your pocket, out of your cash flow. We tend to forget about that because we're so seduced by that 150 that you have sitting over there. You do that over several years, and this kid's a real star. Next thing you know, you start backing out all of that. Then you have also all the loads, all the management fees that they have in there.
Yeah.
You don't make what you think you make.
Yeah.
You really don't. So, okay, so asset manager, mortgage planner, realtor, estate planner. One of the other things, you need to have a really good personal banker. And at this level, you need private banking. If you're not in with private banking, you need to be. And that's one of the things that I'm big on.
What are the benefits of a private banker versus a normal retail?
It's total pampering and preferred rates.
Okay.
So you call up George, you say, hey, George, it's Mike. What do you need?
Yeah.
You can be out in the Orient and you need a wire transfer done, like that,
Gotcha.
you know. And you need a weird loan, they'll portfolio it. So it doesn't have to meet, you know, whatever guidelines are in the secondary market, because they're not going to turn around and sell this loan if it's tied into real estate or something to that effect.
Cool.
All right. Private banking is a must, and that's one of the things that I became, I'm tooting my own horn here, but one of the things that I was very instrumental in is setting up private banking relationships. And in fact, I know several people here already that I've met that I can help people make those introductions. But private bankers are real important.
Tax attorney, CPA.
CPA, big one, and
Or tax strategist.
but CPA, I'll tell you what, this is a strong designation, but not all CPAs are created equal. Here's my immediate question when I ask about a CPA: how often do you talk to him? My question is, do you get together? Does he do any tax planning, or is he pretty much accumulating everything you're throwing at him and organizing your taxes?
Right.
If it's the latter, that's not a good tax planner.
Right.
You're not getting tax planning. So you should be in contact. And in fact, a good CPA is probably going to have you on retainer, you know, as opposed to just charging fees for doing, you know, for doing, you know, returns at the end of the year. And ideally, and again, once we start getting to higher level, you actually want to have someone who's an actual tax attorney.
I tend to have conversations with my tax attorney and my CPA and our entity manager, or I guess our business attorney, all on the same phone at the same time.
That's great.
You know, hey, here's the game plan, here's what we're doing. Everybody cool? And, you know, do it as a kind of a little team board meeting, whatever it may be, so nothing is missed, opportunities are seen, and all of that stuff. So.
The other one that I think is real important, and hold that thought because I want to talk about that, is you need, I don't consider myself to be in my case, a financial planner. Otherwise, I would put, you know, CFP or something along that idea. I consider to be myself more of an architect. The reason why is because we blueprint it. And if I were to describe what I did, it's very difficult. But one of the things I explain to my clients is almost picture a hybrid between a life coach, a financial planner, and a business coach. Because we take components from all three disciplines and blend it into one. Why? Because that's what you need for an entrepreneur.
And that's, you know, like I said, you've done all of that yourself, which puts you in a very different situation than the vast majority of other people, you know, that you could talk to. So, awesome.
And,
we missing anybody?
If we're talking about entrepreneurs, yes. Remember we talked about health? This may not seem like it's important, but I think you need some type of wellness coach.
I've been very fortunate that's turned out to be my wife, so that was a freebie.
So you get a good discount.
Yeah, she's the guru at the household of that, which is awesome. But I completely agree with you. You know, we do 100% organic. We were on a complete raw diet for 3 months. And the health benefits that came from that are amazing. It's actually become a priority, and it's super important. So,
well, I'll tell you what. If you're like the kind of person I think you are, you probably have two speeds: fast and real fast. So you need high test fuel.
Right.
So you need to make sure you're a fine-tuned machine, you know, that's going to be able to, you know, to perform at high levels.
Yeah.
So wellness coach, and I also firmly believe that you need someone who is a business strategist or a business coach. And I'm not talking about the ones that are like business in a box, but I'm talking about someone who's got the disciplines that they literally can take and completely revamp your business if it's necessary, or make sure that you have systems in place so everything is self-perpetuating and self-running.
Awesome.
And you can do that on a contract basis, or you can actually go to or take your executive team and take them to, I'll put in a plug for one right here, is Strategic Coach. They're international. As a matter of fact, Joe Polish went to the same platform. That's how I know him and all those guys.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome stuff. Well, I think we've hit that, and Paul, it's been awesome tonight spending time with you. And this was really about setting the foundation, just getting some of those initial concepts out there, your thoughts on wealth. your family legacy, which I think is unbelievably important for people, and I'm really looking forward to sharing your painted picture
Sure.
with everybody on that, and the pieces to the puzzle here. And this is obviously not going to be our last video together. I'm sure we're going to do many more in the future, at least I hope to. And we're going to go ahead and dive into this stuff in future videos in more detail and get into the nitty-gritty numbers, and as you like to call them, the golf clubs.
The swing.
This is all about talking about the skill,
Yep.
and then we'll get into some of the actual golf clubs in
Yep.
future videos. But guys, this is just the beginning, and the beginning of the Elevation Group, and I trust you'll come along for this journey with us, because it's going to be a hell of a ride. And thank you very much again, Paul Harmon, for joining us today. Make sure you check out the written summary below the videos, because I'll have a lot more details about what we've talked about there today, any of the contacts that we can share with folks for some of these assets right here, and websites, all of that other really good stuff. So thank you so much again for joining us today,
Oh,
Paul.
it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me, and look forward to coming back.
You bet. Awesome.
All right.